Good good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing today?
Good evening, sir. Great.
So today's topic is going to be very interesting. It's a part three of the series of lectures that we have been doing, and this is going to be a little interesting for all of you that I have worked on. Uh, we all know that. All right. May I request everybody to please mute yourself and unmute when you want to speak? Okay, so that's excellent to see you all again at a very short notice, and I am really sorry for this short notice because I had a couple of things lined up, at a personal level, which I could not do it, and I also had a presentation to my BNI chapter in the morning where we wanted. Also, we are trying to gather up enough information and resources to become COVID ready when we open up our practice because it's going to be so important now for each of us to now know what to do because there's a lot of confusion around. And there is some good news for all of you that whatever work that I have done on being making ourselves ready for COVID is that I'm going to do a webinar on it next week. Okay, so you can keep looking at it, especially all the orthodontists in this group. It's going to be a really tough time for us now because imagine yourself wearing a PPE for every single orthodontic patient that you are seeing. So we need to ascertain now. We need to identify areas and we need to look at things on a much broader perspective of how we are going to deal with this COVID in the long run. Well, anyways, the today's discussion topic has got nothing to do with that. It's primarily the part three of the leveraging your practice. Uh, it's okay. Now I'm used to it now, so I will mute once again, everybody. All right. I just request each participant, please don't unmute yourself unless you want to speak, because what happens is there is something known as now, an etiquette which is developing now world over about this online meeting etiquettes. And one of the etiquette is that you should always mute yourself when you're not speaking. Use earplugs so that you don't disturb everybody around you, and use a microphone so that the other noise from your background doesn't get into the meeting. But anyway, we all are learning, and I so appreciate because I don't want to sound, a lot of people are starting these webinars with do's and don'ts. A lot of rules come. I don't put them because I don't want to put an extra stress on all the participants. We all are under very stressful situations right now, and to err is human. We all can err. And I am also attending a lot of webinars these days. Good evening, Vijay. I'm also attending lots of webinars these days. So uh, I see that the speaker at times gets a little upset and they kind of, don't like when the participant speaks and there is a co-host in the background who speaks some nasty words. For example, last time I was trying to tell the host and the co-host that please, the main speaker's video, I mean, and this happened to my webinar as well, that he's muted, he's not speaking, what he's speaking is not being heard. And they thought that I'm trying to, hijack the meeting. So they were very nasty and rude. They didn't know who was trying to tell them that, but that's okay. I finally did manage to send the message across to them that the speaker is muted and we cannot hear him. But anyway, so high-handedness is not something which is going to work in these times. We have to be cordial, we have to be kind, we have to be generous to each other in these times. Everybody is going through a very tough time. Nobody is having a ball right now. Please, honestly, I'm telling you, there is not a single person in the world right now who is not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm sure I have many students right here, and a lot of students also pose this question to me, which I am unable to answer, is about their examinations and what's going to happen. But I would like to tell you one thing right now to all the students, and please don't quote me anywhere here, is that please don't right now be worried about your exams because they're going to happen sooner or later. Right now, what we need to understand is that we have to stay safe and we have to try to overcome this calamity that has been enforced onto mankind. Uh, I'm giving this preamble right now because we just need to wait for more people to come in so that they can have the benefit, because this is going to be a very interesting topic today, I promise you. Whatever stage of your career you are at this time, You may be, like I said, a student, an intern, a postgraduate student, a 1 year practice, 2 year practice, 5 year practice, or a 20-year practice. What I'm going to talk today, right now, is very important because now I'm going to talk to you that most of us waste a lot of our time in doing work that we don't need to work on in our practices. And why do we do that? That's the most important part. Okay, there is a saying in English that you tell me and I will forget. You explain me and I may remember. You involve me and I will do it. So, I will try to explain to you that what is it in us as an entrepreneur, because all dentists are entrepreneurs, that we at times don't let go of things. Uh, uh, it's for me also. Sometimes the our ego is so strong, and we are always told that it's your ego, but it's not your ego. You see, there are certain emotional needs, and we discussed that about in the last previous two sessions also about the emotional needs of human beings. But at that point of time, I was talking about on the emotional needs of your patients and your employees, or your family and your surroundings, or the work environment that you are in. Today, what I'm going to talk on is the emotional needs. Why do we do certain things in our life because of those emotional needs? Okay, so let me give you an example before I start my presentation. uh, uh, Nowadays, in my times, there never used to be supermarkets, but we have supermarkets now. And so this is one story that I would like to share with you, is that there is a small child, uh, and the parents have gone for shopping, and they put the child in the tram that they are, and they are busy shopping. Now, the child has who is in a is not even learned how to walk, or maybe he's learned how to walk, but he has to be put in a tram by the laws. He can't be moving around, so he's tied up with a belt, and he's sitting in his tram, and he has certain needs. Now, you see, uh, the child is always scared of strangers because he is not certain. The biggest emotional need of a child is certainty. The biggest emotional need of a child is significance. The biggest emotional need of the child is that he should feel, so we have to have. So, what happens is that when the parents ignore their child, and then the child starts screaming, and what happens is, to satisfy his needs, what he will do is that he will try to attract your attention by telling you that, can I have this, can I have this? And the supermarket people, very very strangely, or very funnily, or very intelligently, place everything which is important to a particular person at their eye level. Okay, so if you go to a kid section, you will always find that everything that they want to sell is at the eye level of the kids. Everything that they want to sell to the adults, for example, to males, it will be a little higher side than it would be for the female side. Now, this is a science which the supermarkets have evolved, that which is there in the eyesight. What attracts attention is within your eyesight. So that is how they do, and they do their business. So this child, he sees everything in his eyesight, and he starts asking, and the parents feel that the child is being demanding. No, he's not being demanding. All you need to tell him is, like, you can tell him, oh, you just praise him, and he gets significance, and he feels attended. And so what happens is that he automatically get silence for a while, because he's need now he's certain that my parents are actually watching me. Okay, and the significance that he got, his need is automatically satisfied. So with this small preamble, let me tell you that, in our clinics, we tend to do a lot of our work on our own. I'm talking about the work other than we do on the patients. We will come to that maybe at a much later stage, about how to delegate patients work to your subordinate doctors, but that's not the scope of the subject today. Today is the task that we do and that we perform, which we are not willing to let go of because of one thing, and that doing that job is satisfying one of your emotional need. Okay, everybody has emotional needs, and so you will not let it go off. And people will tell you he's an egoistic person. People will say Dr. Amish Mehta is very egoistic. He just doesn't let go, right? So what happens is that if I don't let go, maybe it's because one of my emotional need is being satisfied by doing that. If I can distract myself and I can find other ways in which I can satisfy that emotional need, is when I let go of that work. And that is why having hobbies, recreations, spending time with family, having a certain passion for things which is nothing to do with your work, are the things which we normally tell to people to engage in, so that you can concentrate on your work in your practice, and that is working on your patient, and not do other things just because it is satisfying an emotional need. Most of us have a you know most of us dentists, and dentistry is a craft, an art and craft, which requires precision and perfection. So automatically during our formative stages as dentists or as dental specialists, we are actually tuned, we are actually machined to have an emotional need of certainty. All right. So you will never allow anybody else to do your work, because you won't be certain that that person is going to do that job as you wanted to get it done. Now, when we were children, our parents used to entrust some work, and then at the same time, then they would not be very happy, and they would end up doing it themselves, because they're saying, "I am not very confident that you'll be able to do it." Even today, your parents, no matter at what age you are, your parents are older than you, and maybe people around you, or if you're working in some place, your boss is never confident about how you're doing, because that need of certainty of that boss is not established, and so he will end up doing all the work and you don't do any work. So, having said that, now I think we have 70 participants. We could start with the presentation with this small preamble. I'll start sharing my screen on the presentation. So, just let me give me a moment, please. All right. So, if anybody wants to speak anything right now, he or she may speak. I mean, it's okay. We can chat, and I would like this session to be interactive, because there is going to be a lot of interaction in this session. So please just unmute yourself and raise a question if you have. You can put a chat question in a chat, but usually what happens is when you put a question in a chat, I tend to miss it immediately. So if you want urgent attention, either you can raise your hand. Raising your hand is very easy. You just need to go to your how to raise your hand. So basically you have to go on to your participants, and then you have to click on the right click and raise your hand. It's pretty simple. So all right. So now, having said this, now let's have a small break here. Just give me a few seconds. I need to share my screen, the presentation. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there. All of you can see the presentation now. So here you can see this is basically leveraging your practice part three, and uh, what we want to do is that we need to attain some freedom. Now, what do you exactly mean by business freedom? Business freedom doesn't mean that you don't work. Okay, it just means that you do more productive work, and you leave the other less productive work for other people. Now, your question may come is that, what do you mean by productive work? Right, everything that I do is productive. What do you mean by more productive and less productive? So here the main question that arises is that, why do we all practice? We Most of you are, if you are going to do a private practice, what is the ultimate goal of having a private practice? Are you doing it for money, or you are just doing it because you don't you want to pass your time? uh, you don't have anything else to do, your parents have enough money, and you just need you open up a clinic, or maybe you just waiting to be get married, and then the meanwhile you're just practicing. So this lecture is not basically for those people. This lecture is primarily for you. If you are seriously trying to establish a practice, or you already have an established practice and you want to increase the level of practice to a much higher level. Now, what this means is that you really need to focus on what you want in life, and then you delegate the jobs that you don't want to do or you should not be doing. So that's one way of leveraging your practice. If you are having a multi-chair practice, are you going to attend to each patient on each chair? You are not going to attend. But your emotional need of certainty will continuously take your mind to every chair that whether the work is being done properly or not. So how do you ensure that it is being done properly, right? Now, for example, let's say a CEO of a multi-billion company, he sits in his office at the headquarters and he's got companies all over the world. Now, do you really think that he's going to, poke his nose or his attention in every single thing? No, because there are procedures and processes which we talked about last time. And today I'm going to teach you how to set those procedures and processes to have a certainty that whatever work that you are doing is going to be about, like is going to be done exactly the way that you are doing or you want it to get it done. So having said that, you need to figure out what jobs you don't need, right? Now you see, we as dentists normally don't do the accounting, but sometimes we do the accounting. We also try to do the sales part. Now, what do you exactly mean by the sales part? In dentistry, the sales part is basically the marketing. We also discussed about HR marketing last time. Now, you see, also about the manpower management. You may have one employee, you may have three employees, you may have four employees. You are managing them, right? So, do you really need to do that, or you want it to happen on an automated mode? Number one thing. The accounting that is so important because you see, if you are into a practice and if you are there to generate a revenue and you want to keep a track on it, there has to be a system in place, or you should be doing it on your own. If you have a small practice, you can do it on your own. But what I'm going to try to tell you, all you young people right now here, is that even if you are doing it on your own right now because you have enough time, maybe you are not seeing enough patients, you have set some extra hours in your practice which you can very well devote. So what I am going to tell you today is, which we already discussed in the part 2, is a role map. And we have these 5 different sections of, of ownership, of marketing, of accounting, of people, and of operations. So now the roadmap is very clear. The more you find yourself in that particular box of the roadmap, you need to exit out of it at one point of time if you want to concentrate only working on your patients. So what happens is here is that if the process is not set, or if you don't have an idea of how the accounting in your practice is going to happen, tell me, how is anybody else going to figure it out, right? So, what is it that you want in life? Do you want to earn 100,000 rupees a month? Do you want to earn a million rupees a month, or you want to earn, 1.5 million rupees a month? You do that target only you can set. Nobody can come and tell that you are worth 15 million, right? It's up to you to decide that what do you want to do. And believe me, the day that we decide that this is what I want to do in my life is the time that it is going to happen for you. So the power of imagination is one thing that human beings are blessed with. Okay. Only yesterday I attended a webinar by Dr. Yogesh Chandarana from Baroda, a very fantastic webinar about hypnosis. Now, what is the fundamental aspect of hypnosis? What do they take advantage of to hypnotize a person, which is so good for our emotional and moral well being? They use the ability of a human being to imagine, right? So we need to imagine. Now, what you need to imagine is that how do you want your practice to be set? Now, we have set all the roles. Now, how each role, who is going to perform? Initially, even including me, which I really struggle with, is the accounting part and all the bills and the cheats which comes. Okay, but my mother told me very one nice thing is in those times is, there used to be a pin which is very long up with a small base, and you put all your bills in. If you go to these old time restaurants in Mumbai, that guy, he just puts all the bills in that one pin. That's a very interesting thing to do. But nowadays we have this digital invoicing, and we can generate those things which I have already been talked in part 1 and part 2 in detail to all of you. So what is it I'm trying to tell you here right now is that whatever that you are doing, you need to set a process. Okay, and you need to imagine that this is how it should happen. And then if you have to figure it out, and then you learn by experience and you learn by trial and error as and when you go, that how are you going to innovate and improvise on each step, including the procedures that do you do on your patients. Now you see, we need to understand, I told you in the part 2 that you need to analyze what business are you in. That's very important, because if you are concentrating on restoration dentistry, then all the procedures that you are doing in restoration dentistry, are you documenting it? Are you writing it that this is one particular way that each procedure has to be performed? It's very simple. How did you learn that procedure? You read it from a book, correct? Or maybe your teacher gave you a demonstration. So it's all about putting all those things in words and writing it. Now, let me tell you one thing. I will tell you one very interesting story. When I was a student, uh, a postgraduate student, in one of our orthodontic study group, I presented a case with a reverse face mask, a reverse pull headgear to bring the maxilla a little forward during the growing stage to correct maxillary retrusion. And I showed the case, and I'm telling you, this was 30 years back. Okay, this was 30 years back. And one of the orthodontists commented that, you can't do this in your practice because it's more theoretical. Now, let me tell you this one thing. I disagree with that gentleman. You see, there is nothing theoretical, there is nothing practical. What is theory? From where did the theory come? It all came from the practical things that you people have been doing. And somebody had the power to write it and write a book on it. It just didn't fell from the sky one fine day, correct? So, giving a reverse pull headgear to a patient, how is it theoretical? Doing a rapid maxillary expansion, for example, is theoretical. It can't be practical. So these things, please don't heed to this kind of things. Whatever is possible by you is practical. If it is in theory and if somebody has done it, you can do it as well. Why you can't do it? Right? That person has written a book. So in our time, there used to be a very strong, schools of thoughts of people telling us theoretical and practical. So I want to tell you one thing, that whatever that you are doing, even a procedure on a patient, let's say, for example, you are extracting upper left central incisor. That's a very simple equation, right? One of the simplest procedures possible because it is in direct vision. You have got direct access. It has got a conical root. You just need to twist it a little bit around. You don't need to elevate it. You just need to twist it to make it mobile, and then you can deliver it. So you see, I just explained to you a procedure. But before that, you need to give a local anesthesia. Before you give a local anesthesia with the injection, you need to apply a local topical anesthetic gel. But before that, you need to apply betadine all over his face so that everything is sterile, which by mistake, if you touch, is not going to infect your gloves. Infection control, infection prevention and control is an altogether different subject. But what I'm trying to tell you is, you need to write down. Okay, you need to write down that how do you perform an upper left central incisor extraction. Right now, if you start writing, what will happen is when your practice grows, okay, and now you reach to the level that you are only extracting the third molars, okay, now you have a written manual in place which you can give to a young dentist who comes into your practice, and you tell him, look boss, this is how we extract a central incisor in my practice for years together. And you are already founded by experience, your own experience, that this particular procedure has worked. Okay, and I tell you that if you start writing all the procedures, you might end up writing a book, because that book is already there. Write daily every procedure that you do, anything new that you do, please update it into that procedure. Okay, I had a friend of mine who's a radiologist, a neighbor, who went to UK to do his observationship in sonography. uh, he came and told me. Now this story is almost 25 years back, and in UK at that point of time, and now we have adapted that in our practice. There is something known as a protocol book. Okay, now what is a protocol book? A protocol book is nothing but the procedures, the way they should be done. That's the protocols. We are following this protocol. Now you can say that I am following this protocol, but if it is not written, then how is anybody going to read it? You, whatever you tell them verbally, and we already talked about the verbal and the vocal as well as against the written communication and the advantages and the disadvantages. We also discussed about inferential understanding and literal understanding. We in dentistry cannot afford to have inferential understanding. Everything has to be crisp, crystal clear, written, so that nobody, it's not left to anybody's mind of imagination. This is what, how the upper left central incisor is being extracted. So now this procedure, when you grow more, if you start writing it now, when you grow, automatically you will grow, because now you are procedurized. Now there is consistency, and one of the things which will come by writing down a protocol of any particular dental procedure that you are performing, That will bring about consistency, because every staff member knows it should be there in the protocol book. That protocol is written in a language that they understand. They should also be able to understand that, okay, Dr. XYZ, like Dr. Amish Mehta, if he's going to do this extraction, he's going to do this way, correct? And a staff meeting is done, and they are briefed weekly in a staff meeting that this is how. You may be one person with one assistant. How does it stop you from doing a staff meeting? Right? Even if you are the only person working in your practice, do a meeting with yourself. Okay. I have a WhatsApp group, okay, on my mobile. Okay. Do you know what his name is? Self Talk with Dr. Amish. I talk with myself and I write things there, because everything that comes to my mind, which I tell myself, where am I going to put it? I'm going to forget it. So I make it a point at the end of the day, whatever things that has come in my mind, I put it in that WhatsApp group. Now nobody is a member. All you need to do is you can, take one friend's name, okay, make that group, and then you exit your friend. Now what happens is you are the only person in that group. So you, whatever that you type in that group is your personal data. So this is some very, finer things which I'm telling you that you can do with yourself. Tomorrow you can give access of that group to somebody within your organization. As and when your organization grows, you can keep adding people. And I already told you about apps known as Slack, Highlight. These are there were some suggestions from other participants of also, where this is very good, where you write down. In our Slack, we have a separate channel called procedures, where all the procedures are there, easily accessible to every doctor. So that doctor knows that in Dr. Amish Mehta's clinic at Chandan Dental, even if Dr. Amish Mehta is not there, this is the procedure and this is how it has to be done. All we need to tell that doctor is that he needs to go and read that, and we need to test him whether he has understood it properly or not, he or she. So this is one way of dealing with things. So you have to start this habit right away. You have to have a journal entry. Now, accounting, for example, at the end of the week, on every Friday, if you are working from Monday to Friday, if you're working from Monday to Saturday, every Saturday evening, you should have a report, a self report of your earnings of the week, which I had been talking, because that is the role map. You have an accountant. You are the accountant in your practice right now. But you start measuring it, because tomorrow when your practice grows, you already set a procedure of reporting, and I'm going to tell you how to generate those reports. So now, first thing is that last in part 2 we discussed about the role maps, right? And we had these 5 different sections of ownership, of marketing, of accounting, of operations, and of people. Now, what is it that you don't? What is the 3 roles that which you are performing right now? Do this exercise, okay? Before we go to the part 4 next week, do this exercise. Choose 3 jobs which you don't want to do or you should not be doing, okay? And list them. Just 3 jobs and list them, okay? Write a note, and then just visualize that if you don't have to do these jobs tomorrow, okay, how would you be utilizing that time which you are free now? It could be pursuing a passion, it could be doing something else in your practice, it could be using your skills to expand your practice, it could be that you would start doing more clinical procedures than you are doing right now. So this is the way that you can continuously update, and you could measure things very clearly when tomorrow your practice has grown to a certain extent. Even right now, if you have a very busy practice and if you are doing certain jobs, right, you need to exit out of it, because you should concentrate, in which I told you that you should not only concentrate on the jobs which that is the revenue generating, because for the dentist, the biggest iceberg, which I told you, the biggest threat to a dentist and his business is himself. What God forbid if something happens to him tomorrow, if he cannot work, he has to shut down his practice. If you have all these things in mind, somebody can work in your place and can very well manage your practice. And that is why you need to maintain a journal where day to day, whatever operations, whatever accounting, whatever marketing, whatever people management, or whatever leadership that you're doing is written down in separate sections, and you have a heap of literature. When anybody else comes and start doing that job, all you need to do is that becomes your training manual. You give it to him that this is how I was doing, this is how I want you to be doing. All right. Now I'm going to talk about little about trickle down training, a little while later, passing the buck. it happens, sometimes the voice comes because somebody unmutes by mistake. So I'll do that job, right now. I wish I will exit out of that job one day when I have a co-host. Now, you see, let me explain to you now here. What is a Zoom webinar, right? Right now, I am playing the role of a host, co-host, as well as a speaker. Okay. Normally, internationally, when these webinars are conducted, the speaker is not the host. He doesn't manage the meeting. All right. He has a host, and that host manages all the participants. He ensures that everybody is muted. He is a person who changes the rules of whether they can mute themselves or not. Right now I am alone. Tomorrow, if I become a speaker and if I am successful in this, I will have a host, right, who does that job for me. He's also on the meeting, and he the moment some voice comes in. But right now, I'm writing that procedure of how I'm conducting a Zoom webinar. So when I have a host, I have to have that journal entry, that write up. I'll be mailing it to him and tell him that this is what you have to look at, because you have to instruct him that what is it that he has to do. Now, at that point of time, if I myself do not know that what all roles my host should play when I am speaking, so that I am free, I am not distracted, and I can give my 100% attention. So this is, and you see, world over, for participants don't do things by intention. Sometimes, it gets by mistake. You see, I was delivering this talk day before yesterday for a company, okay, and they were using another platform. Now there is no way to block people who are attending the webinar from sharing their screen. So during my presentation, somebody was sharing the screen. All right. So the person who was responsible, who was the company person, who was acting as the host, had to actually remove him from the meeting. That was the only way that you can ensure that he stopped sharing the meeting. So this is what you see. These are the procedures. I have been only 10 days into webinars. I have been only 10 days into my webinar, and now I already know what all roles that a host has to play, right? And they're all written down in my journal entry. So tomorrow, if I am doing more lectures and if I don't want to get distracted and I keep talking, that journal entry is there. The moment the host comes, that printout goes to him. If I need to make any adjustments, and right, I learn from every webinar that I'm conducting. Even this webinar that I'm conducting today, I'm going to learn a lot of things of how to conduct a successful webinar. Every time that I am taking my webinars on a single subject, the next time that I present in the repeat, I'm much better because I'm much more enlightened, because now I have already presented. So this is the power of visualization and then writing it down. So this is what now, if I don't have a concrete plan that if I am not the host, what am I going to do? All right. I need to ensure now. So my need of certainty will come only when the host is doing everything perfectly. And he will do perfectly only when I have given him written instructions and we have a trial run. Now, for example, today morning I had a all right. So I had a presentation today in my BNI chapter. Now you see, we are given only 7 minutes to present whatever that we want to. Okay, and I wanted to present that why my hospital is one of the best hospitals, not one of the best, but one of the most potential hospitals to cope up with this situation where infection prevention and control is already at its optimal level since 5 years. People are talking of extraoral suctions, we already have them. People are talking of PPEs, we already have them when we do our implant procedures. People are talking of centralized high vacuum suctions, we already have it. Nothing is stored on the chair side, everything goes into the drain. People are now talking of delivery systems of water with ionization, we already have that. So you see, we are already preempted these icebergs. And I grew up in an era where AIDS and hepatitis, actually this was about to destroy dentistry. When I'm telling you this, ask any dental surgeon who was practicing in 1985 to 83 to probably 1992, and you see this pandemic of AIDS and of hepatitis, and people were so scared to go to a dentist then. All right. And but down the line people forgot. Even today, in majority of the educational institutions, infection control is something which is not, in fact, many of the practices were not taking infection control seriously. So if you have a set procedure inside your practice where infection control is written down, this is how it is exactly going to be done. You don't have to do it. You can do it right now if you are free. But if you are doing it, make sure that you write it. How are you doing infection prevention and control in your practice, so that tomorrow when your assistant is going to take over, he or she knows exactly how you are going to perform this. These all things will grow your practice, because now the patients know that this particular practice where I am going, these procedures are already set, and you have to give your patients this confidence. Okay, I am going to draft an email right now after this presentation today, and I'm going to tell all my patients. Okay, we have the CRM in place, so we can retrieve at a touch of a button all the email addresses, all the mobile numbers of all our patients who have come to us in the past 15 years. So I have the database with me. All I need to do is retrieve the database. So now the IT industry is so powerful, yet it is very dangerous, because your systems can get hacked. So good backup is required. But I will now be shooting a mail. Now I have a structure. Now I will be preparing a structure and a template, that this mail will contain this information. There is a preamble. We all were taught when we were young, when we were in school. If you remember your Ren and Martin English grammar book, this thick book, there used to be comprehension, right? And there used to be templates for various letters to be written, correct? So now there has to be various templates for communications that you do with your patient. If you already have the template, if you are doing that task right now of shooting mails to your patient, prepare a template for each type of mail that you are sending. So tomorrow, when you are not doing that and somebody administrative staff is doing that, he or she knows what is the basic format of the email that is supposed to be sent. So you are now certain that things are going to happen the way they were happening when you were doing it yourself. So that is, we need to acknowledge, we need to understand this. Now I'm going to read out the slide here for your benefit. Like, we need to acknowledge one thing, that we all have emotional and psychological needs. We all have. We are not machines. So there is a chance that the jobs that you can delegate or you should delegate to your other staff, you will not delegate because of an emotional or a psychological need of yours, which is going to be identified. So you may have a connection to it, which will hinder you from making somebody else doing that job. Now if you end up having your name in most of the role boxes in your role map, how is your practice going to grow? When are you free to do work on your patients? Correct? You should be concentrating on your patient. I know of people who, while working, they pick up the telephone like this and are trying to give an appointment to another patient. Just imagine you are the patient and your dentist is doing that. Understood? Would you like it? So your patient will not like it. So you must have a set procedure, and you must tell all your patients. See, patients always want to talk to the doctor. It is not only India, it is not only Europe, it is pan world. It's international. Every patient wants to get connected to the doctor because the emotional need is connection. If he is not satisfied, if that connection doesn't happen with the doctor, till then whatever the staff does, so you have to tell your staff to cater to that need of connection. If they connect well with the patient, their one part of that connection need is automatically satisfied, so they will not try to disturb you every now and then. 20 years back, when I had a staff who was giving appointments, I was sitting with a couple of dentists and we had dinner, and we were having dinner, and the joke that went around on the table. And I don't want to sound very magnanimous here, but normally, you see, what happens is that in dental circles, I frequently become a topic of conversations, and at times it's controversial as well. But I love it. I love it because you see our Prime Minister, for example, Narendra Modi. What made him what he is today is, he was always surrounded by people who were continuously criticizing him, but they were end of the day talking about him. So they were making him famous, and today the whole world knows the rest is history. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that they were discussing and laughing on one thing, that if you call Amish's clinic, there is a lady who answers the call and she gives the appointment. Ha ha ha. All right. So that is how 20 years back dentists used to do. They said, why don't you give the appointments yourself? Why are you relying on somebody else? How does she know which patient to appoint when for how much time? And I used to tell them there is a procedure. I mean, my staff knows that there is a bonding procedure, there is an arch wire change, there is an activation, there is a debonding, there is a retention protocol, there is a new patient, there is molar bands, and that staff knows every procedure. He says, "Are you teaching your staff orthodontics?" Now, you see, where are you teaching him orthodontics? All you are telling your staff is the various procedures that you are performing and how much time will it take. Now, if your reception knows that, okay, I have somebody who has raised a hand. Would you like to say something, Doc? It is Bjork.
Jetzt diesen Mittwoch das erste Mal wirklich um Viertel vor 9 kommen, Viertel vor 10 kommst, so wie ich, so dass wir dann das miteinander besprechen. Dann holen wir gemeinsam den Phantomkopf aus dem Lager raus und dann kriegst du noch die Unterweisung, wie es wegen der neuen Sachen, die wir haben. Dass du ja auch alles nicht unterwegs, wo das wieder was kontaminieren, was nicht sein soll. Und dann machen wir das gemeinsam. Okay? Also diesen Mittwoch noch um Viertel vor 10 und dann schauen wir weiter. Wir werden bestimmt eine Trainingszeit organisieren können.
I'm not understanding what you're saying, sir.
Genau. Und dann wünsche ich dir noch wunderschöne Ostern. Erhol dich gut. Ja. Jo, ebenso. Bis Mittwoch. Richtig gerne aus. Tschüss.
I don't know. Could anybody understand what he was saying? I really don't know. But anyway, so
and also
He's speaking in German.
he's speaking in German. Yeah.
I think you should write it down.
It's in German.
Write it down.
Okay, fine.
You should write it down in chat in English.
Oh, that's okay. So that's fine. But anyway, let's go on, right? So what I'm trying to tell you here is that now, you see, I have been discussing about things, certain things is that now, which I also talked in part 1 and part 2 is what is your value, right? As a dentist, okay? If I was supposed to be giving appointments on the telephone, I might be a receptionist. If I am supposed to do all the accounting, I might become an accountant. If I am supposed to counsel all my patients, I might become a counselor, right? So it depends on what exactly the area that you want to work on. Unfortunately, in dentistry, we have to do this multitasking when we have a lot of people who we, we kind of do not know. But what happens is that we have to do all this multitasking because we don't have enough manpower. And I already gave you some tips on employing your own people, your family members. For example, if your spouse is smart enough and he or she is not working, he or she can do that job for you. You don't need to hire full-time people always in your practice to do all the jobs you're doing. For example, you can have a part-time accountant coming to your practice. For example, you could have an administrative person who just comes for a few hours to your practice and just takes care of a few things. All you need is a good receptionist, a good dental assistant. So we all know the structure of a good running dental clinic. But the importance of a counselor in medical and dental treatment, you see, the counseling part is very important. So we at times, sometimes we tend to do it. Well, it's good. When you have got the time, all the post-op instructions in our practice, what happens is they're already pre-printed. Okay, if anything which is added, it is written down. But it is pre-printed. There is a template for all post-operative instructions, including, like, say, for post-bonding, post-molar bands, post-activation, post-implant placement, post-extraction, post-surgery. These all templates are there. All the staff needs to do is email it to the patient on his or her email in advance. Okay. Now, in these times, it is equally going to be important when we are talking of so much of infection control and prevention. You are wearing a PPE. Tell me, how are you going to write a prescription? How are you going to write a post-operative instruction? If you already have that post-operative instruction template, it can be advanced, it can be mailed, or it would be, you can use an IT where it is automatically generated and sent to the patient. And you tell the patient that we don't want to generate a paper here because paper can be a source of infection. The fomites can get, because you see now as less the things are touched are better, and as less things there are there in the hospital clinic physical, the less contact you have, right? Why are we all told to be away? The best thing is, the bottom line of COVID-19 is, who can bring COVID-19? Who can be responsible for COVID-19 in your house? You yourself. Because if you go out, you're going to bring it into your house. Correct? So if you don't have papers, if everything is on a system, which you all must have. Right now, if you don't have, take a pen and paper and write down. Try to find a source who can do it for you. All right, it could be done right now. Online, somebody can generate a system for you. Start doing it. I am just a button away. Call me if you need any help. Right? So you need to exit. Now, it becomes very important in this time. Now, wearing a PPE apparatus, are you going to do all that jobs? Right? I started pretty early, 20, 22 years back. I started delegating the work. I am still being criticized by many people that I am not doing all the work in my practice. All right. People, my competitors use that, statement and tell to patients कि डॉक्टर अमीश मेहता क्या बताऊँ वो कहाँ सब करता है उसके वहाँ तो सब दूसरे लोग काम करते हैं. All right, but that means what I do, that I don't do nothing in my practice. I do most of the clinical procedures in my practice. I leave all the insignificant procedures which somebody else can do it much better than me. I leave it to my subordinate doctors to do it. So that is how it works. But then if you want your practice to grow, you need to do all this procedurization and delegation, and I'm going to teach you this art of delegation. And the main purpose of art of delegation is writing you on your own way, that you are doing things which you are writing down, so that when you tomorrow want somebody else to do it, he or she can read it, understand it, and then follow it. Because a written instruction nobody can defy. You tell somebody verbally and he will say, you didn't tell me this, you told me something different. I told you about inferential and literal listening. In dentistry, inferential listening, Prasad, I'll just answer your question. Karan, I will answer your question. Just a minute. Is there anything? You just raise your hand. So, okay. Karan, do you want to say something? You can unmute yourself and speak.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate, like, in my clinic also, like, I'm an implantologist. I only do implant patients, but many patients, like, and
Yeah. We can't hear you, Karan. Hello, Karan.
such a situation, I got seen odontist with me.
Your voice is cracking a lot. So, can you just type it in the chat box, please? All right. So, okay, anyways, we'll go ahead. We are already 45 minutes into the lecture and I've got lots more to cover. So, the next point is that, yeah, I do appreciate, Karan, that you're saying that you do implants in your practice and you leave the other things. Yeah, okay, I get it. All right. So, questions at the end. All right. Thank you, Akhil. If that is a general consensus, then I will agree by it, that let's have questions at the end, and then we will be allowing everybody to unmute and then speak. So right now, let's get with the flow of because I also get disturbed and my flow gets disturbed. So if you consider your value, you as a dentist, what is your value? If you decide that, and then if you delegate the work to other people, but before delegating, you yourself should be aware that you just cannot say. Now, for example, when I started appointing a receptionist at my practice, okay, there never used to be a receptionist at a dental clinic 25 years back. There used to be an assistant who used to pick up the phone. There was no system of a phone or a table of a receptionist in a dental practice, in the reception, in the waiting area. Okay. Now, what happens is that I thought that if I employ a receptionist, she knows what to do. Okay. So I had actually 5 to 6 receptionists who came and went away. And I realized that, and then my friends in the industry told me that, have you trained your receptionist? I said, isn't the receptionist supposed to be trained? He said, no, in India, we don't have something known as vocational training. All right. Now, if you go to America, I mean, if anybody who's practicing in America or Europe here, you see there is a vocational training of 6 months on a dental receptionist. All right. Yes, there is there is a vocational training. This is known as vocational training. You may have a BSc degree, but you can do some 6 months to 1 year training to become a dental hygienist, to become a dental assistant, or to become a dental receptionist. But in India, unfortunately, we still don't have. All right. And long back, almost 18 years back, when I was a secretary of IDA Gujarat State Branch, there was a Marathi book published by IDA Maharashtra State Branch, which was Dan Chikitsa मदतनीससाठी मार्गदर्शिका. That means dental assistant instruction manual, which I translated. I got it translated into Gujarati, and we published it and sent it free of cost to all our IDA Gujarat State Branch members. I still have one copy. I distributed almost everything, but anybody who is interested, I am about to prepare a manual as well on training your dental assistants, and I'll be doing this online training also for dental assistants. So that becomes so imperative. Your assistants, your receptionists needs to be trained, and they can only be trained if you yourself know what you are going to do. For example, there may be a difference in the appointment flow. The workflow of giving an appointment to a new patient and an old patient will differ from practice to practice. If I try to give you my template, you may have to adjust and adapt it to your own needs, because you may have certain different, altogether uh, uh, strata of population. Sometimes you need to adjust to your local population. So there you need to prepare. So how you are giving an appointment to a new patient or an old patient, write it down. What is the sequence? Okay. Another thing, the certainty. See, the patient likes certainty. Every time he calls up your clinic, if only the person is answered in the same manner every time, his need of certainty there itself is satisfied, and he becomes more confident about your clinic. But if somebody, five different people are always answering, he says, what kind of a clinic is this? Every time I call, somebody else is picking up the phone. How would you feel if you call up a place and five different people answer the call, and every time they say something different? It happens when you call when you call these call centers. Okay, so whenever I call any of these call centers of any of these companies, I always ask them one thing at the end: give me the ticket number. Okay, and they always say, wow, what is the ticket number? Because they all have this, your conversation which is recorded in their system, and your ticket number is a reference number. So whenever I make that call again on the same problem, I tell them my ticket number is this, please open up that ticket number. So now I don't have, because somebody else has called. But we in our dental clinics cannot have that system. If you have that system where everything is logged in, and anybody, your patient's name itself in our setup, everything is logged in. Whatever is done is there in each computer that the staff has an access. So the receptionist knows exactly what was done in the previous appointment in the computer in front of her. So now she doesn't have to ask anybody else. She already knows what to do. Even then, we make a mistake. Can you believe that? So if you don't have a set system, and if you are going to be answering calls of somebody else is keeps on going answering your phone calls, the system will not get developed in your practice. All right. So now, having said that, let's go to the next slide. So now, how do you know your worth? Okay, how do you know your worth? So that comes from your accounting. Start measuring, or go back now since you are at home. Okay, if you have deposited money in the bank, or you know how much cash you handle, or how much money you earn in 1 month. Okay, divide it into the procedures. Which procedure gave you how much money? All right, and which procedure is taking how much of your time? Okay, so now you would know that how much hours of your time that you are actually spending, and how much it is generating money for you. In dental practice, when you are giving appointments on phone call, how much money is the webinar on? I am not able to get in regards. Dr. Vijay Badul. Yeah, the webinar is still on. It's okay. So all right. So this is the, I really need a co-host now. If anybody wants to, volunteer, please do, so that all these things can be taken care of at the back end. Because, but anyways, so now, if you are, whatever work that you are doing other than working on the patient in a dental practice is non-productive. Do you agree with me or disagree? I would partly disagree. All right, because now let's say, for an example, you are working on your patients and you are generating the revenue. That is one source of revenue generation. The second source of revenue generation, which I also told you in the previous webinar, is that every penny that you save is the penny that you earn. So now, when we were talking about the ordering process, right, if you are not measuring your ordering process, and if you are not calling for quotations and doing an auction for each material that you are buying, right? What happens is that you are giving that extra money out. That time that you are spending, how much money you are saving, put there. Tomorrow, anybody who comes in to do that job, you know how much salary to pay, because you know how much you are saving by employing this kind of a person in your practice. All right. Or if his salary is worth the money that you're paying him or not, because he's saving this money by getting you material cheaper. I'm not saying that you buy cheap material. All I'm trying to tell you is that when you can negotiate good deals with your dealers, right? All this time that you spend is a time well spent, because you're saving money. So prepare a logbook that this is how the ordering process is. Before I order anything, number one thing, the price is fixed for 6 months. If the price is changed, it cannot be changed unilaterally. That person has to notify you, and you have to cross check with the market whether the price has actually increased or not, because all the this traders take tremendous advantage of this dollar fluctuation. All of a sudden, when this Chinese the COVID started in China, the mask started becoming expensive. The same box of mask which was you were getting for 200 rupees, they were charging 1200 rupees, right? But this is black marketing, and it is illegal. They cannot do it. The government is taking, but it's such a big country, we don't have control over it. But people sometimes do take advantage and will fleece you for money. So you have to write down all that jobs that you are doing, A, B, C. Every job that you are doing, how much money is it generating from zero to whatever money that is it in. Now, tomorrow, if you are generating money, and we all know that we are generating more money by working on patients, you can very well delegate the task to other people by working more on patients, and have an additional staff who can do that work for you. And you can earn 10 times more than the salary that you are paying to that person whom you have employed, who is now doing your job, which you are otherwise doing unproductively. Now you are utilizing that time to do that work. Okay. You are already working 8 hours a day, and another 1 hour you are spending in administration, and you don't have time for your own passions. Utilize that 1 hour for your own passions, for your own recreations. That is going to reap more harvest to you, and will bring less emotional and stressful situations in your life. So now, like, you will have to write down, identify, like, how much will it cost you. Now in India, the biggest advantage that we have is that we get people inexpensive, people that we employ. In America, in Europe, they have a problem. Why is the treatment so expensive there? Because they have huge expenditure. The amount of money that they have to pay their assistants is humongous, right? So in India, how much is it that you are going to pay somebody who is going to do that work, and how much it is going to cost you per hour? Would you be able to generate that same amount of money? No, more money. Okay. Only then it is justified. Then you can identify this. Whatever you write will speak tomorrow. So please start doing this exercise right away. Now compare these three jobs you chose from the from the last week, which I told you, all the jobs that you read, and prepare an emotional template. Okay, that you are doing this role A, B, and C, three roles. Do you think that there is any emotional need for doing these three roles? Okay, try to identify. Try to use this template. You can click a picture of this template. Certainty, variety, connection, significance, growth, contribution, and meaning. Try to find out that, are you stuck with this role because you want connection? Are you stuck with this role because you want significance? Okay. For example, in my practice, there used to be certain procedures which I only used to do because it used to give me a lot of significance. All right. It used to give me self significance. But when I saw that it is not giving me money, it's all it is doing is giving me significance. It is addressing to one of my emotional need. Now, if I want significance, I have to seek it somewhere else, not in my workplace, right? I can be significant by, let's say, becoming an active member in the dental association. I can hold some post in local Lions Club, Rotary Club, and I can get that significance. There are multiple ways to get significance, but you should not, you know, stick on to a job which is non-productive only because it is giving you one of these 7 human needs. Try to do this exercise. When we do an advanced training little while later, maybe next week, we will be talking about this more, and you can come up with your feedback. And at this point of time, you need to decide that even if right now you don't have enough money to manage and pay extra people, but at least right now start identifying, even if you don't have a practice, try to find out which is that 7 human need. Just ask your friend, just ask your close friends. The closest friend will tell you the truth on your face. Your enemy will speak lies. They will try to give you significance. And one of our human need is significance. That is why somebody gives you a false praise, you start liking him. But we dislike a friend because he told you the truth. And because truth is not one of the, nobody wants to listen to the truth. But unless you don't listen to what exactly you are and what personality you have, all right, ask your mother. Mothers will never lie. They will tell you exactly what they are. Ask your father. They are the people who will tell you what exactly you are. And try to find out whether these needs, are you stuck on some work within your practice which is just because of a human need other than money. All right. Now we are going to implement. Now we are going to build on. Now how do you do this? How do you prepare good template? It is very easy for me right now to tell you prepare a template, prepare a flowchart. But you see, I also have to teach you exactly. So one of the first step that we are going to do is that write down whatever you're doing and focus on the big picture and look at the individual roles separately, and then try to find out how I am going to generate the template so that we can give it to anybody who comes. So if you will Google, there is something known as KPI. Okay. Now KPI is an industry term which is known as key performance index indicators, right? What do you mean by key performance indicators? Okay. What do you mean by that? So for example, let's say, for example, us, which is the key performance indicator for a dentist, is successful treatment, right? So how many cases did you successfully treat? For example, you are an implantologist, and if you want to perform, you have to write down that you say that I have 97% success rate of implants, which is world over, right? 3% of the implants still fail the world over. So there are multiple reasons why an implant can fail. But if your practice is failing by, let's say, 50% of the implants, that means your key performance indicator, you as there as a role title, right? Your key performance indicator is poor. So you need to exit. You don't want 50% of your implants to fail in your practice. You might as well leave that job to somebody who can deliver that job to you with 90%. But just because you want to feel very significant, certain that only I will do the implants, that is where the trouble will lie. Okay. What is a key performance of indicator for an accountant? You see, the key performance indicator for an accountant would be how well he has managed your books, how is he putting all the data entries, and whether everything is in concurrence and matches at the end of the day or not. If it is not matching, his key performance indicator is poor. You need to fire him. What is the key performance indicator for an assistant, for example? Right now, if you have an assistant, but if you are still doing the tray setup, right? And I'm coming back again to the tray setup, and I promise you I will do a webinar on tray setup. The key performance indicator of a person who is doing the tray setup is that everything that you need chair side is there on the tray. How many times it was there on the tray? If it is say 95%, that the key performance indication is excellent. But every time if some instrument is missing in the tray, then your dental assistant job or your job is not indicating that. So every role that is there in your role map, try to find out 5 key performance indicators, that what is it that will certify, okay, that for this to be a performance indicator which is measurable, so that I can have certainty that this job will be done properly. Okay, this you can do it even for yourself right now as a self audit. When you are alone, or if you are a PG student, you are working alone, what are the key performance indicators? Your record keeping, your how you are maintaining your books. Have you done your revisions regularly? Are you going to the PubMed index journal? These are all the key performance indicators for a postgraduate student. At what stage have you prepared a timeline for your thesis, for example? Have you performed a timeline for your library dissertation? Has your guide been given? Has your guide given you all this timeline? So all these things, once are in proper perspective, automatically you will go on an auto mode. Right now, we all have that time. Don't crib about these times. Use this time and do all this exercise that I am telling you. Report frequency, again, I said there has to be a consistent report frequency for everything. All right. In my practice, the revenue report comes daily. Okay. The expenditure report comes weekly. The staff performance report comes monthly. And our target reports comes quarterly. You get it? So it depends on your needs of how do you want. Now you will say that when I don't have anybody doing that work for me, what is the purpose of having a report? No, you should still prepare a self report and give it to yourself so that the reports are already there. A big file is there of the reports. When somebody else is taking up that job tomorrow, he or she, you can give that file to him. Look, gentlemen, this is how the reports are generated in my company, and you need to do this job now. And your key performance indicators will be this 5 things. We are going to measure your performance by these indicators. If you fail in these 5 things, you are not a good employee. You will be on probation, and we will definitely discontinue your services. So this is one way that you can tell a person. See, you just can't fire somebody. You need to give him a reason, right? We are not living in a world where we can say, hey boss, don't come tomorrow. I don't like your work. I don't like your face. I don't like how you talk. No, that is not the way you run a successful practice. You have to be rational. Okay, emotional thinking is not going to help you, right? So there has to be rational key performance indicator for each role in your role map. Identify only 3 roles right now. Okay, to begin with, identify with one role and one key performance indicator. It is enough. Okay, I have told you from my experience, begin small. A 1,000-mile journey starts with the first step. Okay, so at least step out. I don't know whether you have seen this movie called Life in a Metro. Okay, there is this Irfan Khan, and I think this there is a heroine, I forgot name. I'm very poor movie stars. So no, it's not Shilpa Shetty. So Konkana Sen, right? So now this Konkana Sen was saying that till I don't get the perfect husband, I am not going to get married, right? But the problem was she was not trying to find the perfect husband. So the Irfan Khan gave her a very nice story to tell, which I'm going to repeat here, about starting small. Okay, the importance of starting small and then slowly building all those small things into big things. You see, he told her one story that you are trying to find a perfect husband. You are not going to find one because you are not finding. And then he gave a story saying that there was a person he knew in the city who said that unless and until all the traffic lights on my road are green, I will not take the car out of the garage, right? So all he told that friend of his was, bring your car at least out of the garage on the road so that you can see whether the light is green or not. Sitting in your home, you are not going to do anything. How will you know that the lights are green or not? So start small today. I just told you a very funny incident from a movie. We learn a lot of things from movies. So this is one thing. Now, how to create a practice or a company that can grow effectively with or without you. That is the importance of these templates. Tomorrow, in your absence, the administrative work of your practice should go on. While you are working on a patient, while you are doing an implant, for example, full mouth rehabilitation, you will be spending hours for a week. Who is going to take care of the administration of the clinic at that time? It cannot happen that they have to wait till boss becomes free, right? It should happen automatically on the side by people who are already properly trained and they know what to do. Appointments are still generated. New patients are still seen. Patients with problems are still attended to by subordinate staff. So this is how you do the work, so that an effective training will happen only when you yourself know what you want from other people in writing. Trickle down training. Now what happens is sometimes, you have an assistant who is excellent, right? And now he's overburdened. So now what you say is, I will hire another assistant. Okay, And I will tell my assistant who is so good to train that assistant. Now that is known as trickle down training. Okay. What is trickle down training is that I have trained an assistant. I have trained him. Now, if that assistant is going to train another assistant, he is going to miss a few pointers, right? Unless there is a template. So your assistant should know how to assist another assistant. He should be knowing that. That instruction should be there. The key performance indicators are there. The templates are there in place. All you need to give your office as a manual that this is the role to play, this is the role of the assistant, and this is how you are going to work. Okay. If you will give me some time at the end, just give me 2 minutes. I'll go to the next room and I'll get the entire procedure spiral bind that I have of my practice of every role and every duties and responsibilities of each staff, including the accountant, administrative staff, reception. It is all written down so that it is not trickled down. You see, what happens with trickle down training is that I train somebody, somebody trains somebody else, that person trains somebody else. Down the line, what will happen is, if you are having a multi-speciality, if you are having multiple chain of clinics, if you are not having a manual, if you don't have SOPs written down in a proper format so that and implemented, okay, because you can't just have one procedure which is not implemented. You can't preach what you don't practice. So your staff should be able to see that. Now, yes, boss, it is written here and this is how it is being done. Then he will have confidence. But if it is written there and if yourself or the other person is not doing it, it's not going to happen. That is why these key performance indicators are so important right away, so that you don't employ people who are going to be, without your notice, they are not performing according to your company manual. And when somebody new comes who is observing, that person will say, many a times we see this, अबे आपके यहाँ तो ऐसा ही चलता था ना, मैं आया तब मैं देख रहा था ऐसा ही चलता था तो मैंने चलने दिया. This is a very common answer given to us by employees who are the fourth or the fifth employee in your practice, right? And you say, ऐसा चलता है मेरे यहाँ, मुझे तो पता ही नहीं है. Because we have never measured the key performance indicators. We actually never get the reports. So this is how you need to gradually liberate. And that is why newly hired people can learn successfully to execute your job. All of a sudden, if your main person leaves and goes, that newly hired person is not trained by trickle down training, is not trained verbally, is not trained organically कि भाई थोड़ा 15 दिन तू देखना तो कुछ सीख जाएगा. वो सब अभी नहीं चलेगा. Especially in these times of COVID, infection prevention and control, if you are not training your staff, it is going to be tough. I fired one staff today morning from my establishment because that staff refused to come for online training. Okay, मेरे पास time नहीं है. I cannot come on online training. I said, if you cannot come on online training, when we are opening up, if you are not trained, you are going to spoil the whole system. So that person said, I'll leave the job. I said, okay, thank you very much. Very important person in our organization. But I have to adapt now because believe me, there is going to be a huge change in the way we are practicing. There are going to be newer needs. There are going to be, we are not going to be able to practice the way that we are able to practice now. That is why I would advise all of you to start preparing these icebergs, these threats, analysis of your practice. If you have taken loans, if you know how are you going to disinvest some non-performing assets, we will be talking about accounting. We can get some expert on this webinar series who can talk on disinvestments of how to get you money on a low interest. We can do a lot of things together. We can make this dental industry revive in this country and make sure that no dentist in this country is affected by this kind and this level of preparation. Let us join hands together, all of us today here in this webinar, and let us make an effort to train every other dentist whom we know. And if you feel that I need to talk to them, I'll be very happy to bring to them the ground reality of what is going to happen after 2 to 3 months in dentistry. So now you see, this is the predictable part. Now we are predicting situation. So you want quality to be a predictable part of your company or your practice. If it is not, then it is going to be a sideline for you. What I would right now advise you is start writing down one procedure that you are performing. All ownership, marketing, people, accounting, and operation. Out of that, any one procedure per day, write down. or let one of your employee write down for you. Okay, or what you can do is, in my practice, a lot of interns come, a lot of BDS people come. Okay, now I'm giving you this tip. A lot of BDS people come for observationship, right? My only funda with them is, it's not observationship. You are going to learn and you're going to do my job. And I make them write everything that I do. I tell them, you have to be with me whole day. Just simply maintain a log and write down everything that I do. Make it a Google document. We have a folder on a Google Drive. Okay, and he or she has to update it at the end of the day. Period. If I don't have time, so there is no ambiguity. It's a set procedure. Now I don't want to go and search in my email box whether he or she has sent me. I just need to open up that folder on my Google Drive and see whether she has updated the document or not. All right. So this is the procedure. So you need to set certain things for certainty. You can't be on tenterhooks, always. अरे यार ऐसा होगा तो क्या करेंगे, वैसा होगा तो क्या करेंगे. Yes, it's not a movie, right? This is a ground reality. It's not a dream anymore. We all are professionals. We all have responsibilities now. All right. Just today, I have got a webinar request from medical legal person. He said now there will be different medical legal implications tomorrow, and there's going to be a webinar. I will send you the link. Okay, I will send you the link. I would advise all of you to attend that webinar. He's a medical legal expert from Bombay. No harm in listening to him. What are the medical legal implications now in this stage? I heard that there's already somebody in Mumbai who has sued a hospital for getting COVID, right? So we need to be now very particular about things. Write down a master list of the tasks. What are the tasks involved in that each list? What are the tasks involved? All right. And then write that task. Just give me a moment, please. All right. I'm sorry for that little bit of disturbance. So now identify one task and write down the full procedure. So, you need to prepare a master list. If you have any confusion in this, I know this, I'm explaining to you. We will be subsequently going, as you are seeing now, that when I'm going into part 1 to part 2 to part 3, I'm going deeper. I was laying all the foundations. This is also one of the foundations that I'm giving you to do. All right. So next time when we meet, you will be prepared. So this is what you do. Write out a master list. This is the template. Role A. This is the master list. Let's say, for example, implant. Okay. So what are the various lists that you do when you're placing an implant? Okay. Now let me tell you, placing an implant is not only the list. Ordering an implant is also a list, isn't it? So how do you order an implant? So when you see a task, for example, a patient walks into your practice and you want to give a dental implant, right? So what is the first task? You refer him out for CBCT. So write it down. So what is the procedure for you? Do you have a set procedure for referral to a CBCT? Do you have any preference to which CBCT center and why? If there are multiple CBCT centers in your practice, I would advise that I myself run a CBCT center. Still, I am telling you that there is something which one CBCT center can do, which other CBCT center cannot do, right? So what is the need in this particular case? Which machine will give you that result, right? So that is one of the tasks. Write it down so that tomorrow anybody who is advising a CBCT in your place, a subordinate doctor, will look into those aspects. So this is the level of integrity and depth that we have to go in, which will leverage your practice to a height which will not imagine. All right. Nobody becomes successful without effort. You can be lucky once, you can be lucky twice, thrice, but not always, right? So consistently being good, you need to have all these things in your practice. Identify one task and write the full procedure, like I said. Okay, write the complete procedure. You as a dentist, you are placing the implant, right? Other thing is ensuring that the implant has come, ensuring that the implant kit is sterilized, ensuring that the micromotor is working. All right. Many a times I have seen people, micromotor is not working. The implant is there, the patient is anesthetized, the micromotor is not working. So is there a set procedure in your practice where some staff comes and checks whether the micromotor is working at the torque and the RPM that you want? Correct? Because different implant systems wants different RPMs and different torque. If you are using more than one implant system, your staff will get confused. पता ही नहीं चलेगा कौन सा इम्प्लांट कब डालना है, उसके लिए क्या इंस्ट्रूमेंट रेडी करना है, कौन सा किट लाना है. So all these things. So I just told you one task, implant placement. Now I have given you ideas that how it can be different in different situation. Write it down in detail. Okay, so tomorrow when you want to, if you are doing this right now, very good. If you are not doing this right now, if somebody is doing it, tell him to write it down right now in these times when he or she is free, and let him send it to you, and you will have a work manual. Believe me, after these sessions, multiple sessions that you attend with me, you will be in a position, you will become more confident of yourself. Your staff will start appreciating that no, my doctor is now more systematic, more procedurized. Otherwise, you see, they are always confused what to do in a given situation. Even I have done this mistake, screaming at staff, समझते नहीं हो, इतनी बार समझाया है, कुछ नहीं आता है, because we didn't have a manual. Now because we have all the manuals, everything is written, and I would be very happy to do for anybody, but you see, it will consume a lot of my time. So we are evolving a model in which it could be done particularly. So if it has to be an individualized system which we have to work on, it will be on a commercial model. But for the time being, we are doing this. I'm giving you a general idea of how to do it. This is a free series of lectures which can tomorrow we can generate into a course which we can run to teach people how to leverage and systemize their practice. That is all from me today. And it's already been, like, I had scheduled for 1 hour today because there was shortage of time. It was 6 o'clock. There were lots of webinars today. Even in my state, there were certain webinars. With respect to them, I kept the time at 6 o'clock, because you see, what happens is I don't want to unnecessarily make people feel that we are trying to generate webinars and other people are. So today it was at 6 o'clock. So I'm really sorry for postponing this, but we will do it. I keep a track on what webinars are going on at what time, and I see that this one particular time is free for most of the people, which I select. All right, so that everybody can take maximum advantage out of this. I will be repeating this webinar next week, and I will be putting it again. Probably on Sunday, I will repeat this webinar. So all those who have missed, or all those who have already attended this lecture, wants a revision, can come back again. Now I am open for questions for only 10 minutes. At 7:20, at 7:30, I will close the meeting. So I will unmute all of you right now. Please mute yourself when you want to speak. Right now, please mute yourself. You can unmute yourself when you want to speak something. Or you can.
Doctor, I have a question. This is Pooja. So, can I ask you?
Yes, of course, madam, you can ask me, but
Yes.
can you speak
Okay.
a little volume down, please?
Oh, sorry. Okay. So,
Okay.
I missed the first two parts
Mhm.
because I only found out about this course today.
Yes,
So, is
ma'am.
there any way that I can see or view those presentations, or that you'll be repeating them again?
Part 1 and part 2.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure, ma'am. What I will be doing is now is that I won't repeat part 1 and part 2. What I am now doing is that I
Hmm.
take part 1, part 2, and part 3 all together. I will be repeating, so
Okay.
you can attend that. So what will happen is that it will give you a very good continuity. Okay, because the last time that I
Okay.
did this retake of part 1 and part 2, there was so much of attention that people were there continuously for 2 hours. That flow was fantastic, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
you have already listened to part 3 today. Yeah, part 1
Yes.
and part 2 is very important. So in a
Okay.
concerted manner, I will be repeating part 1 and part 2. There is not a problem, and I will be updating.
Okay.
What I can request you to do is, if you don't have my mobile number, please write it down
Okay.
and
Yes. I will write it down.
send me a message so that you are in one of the uh,
Okay. Sure. Can you please give it to me?
yeah, I'm writing it right now in the chat box so that everybody can note it down. Anybody who is not a part of the webinar groups, and what you can do is, ma'am, that you can also invite other people to be a part of this, because you see,
Yes.
those people can also take benefit of this series of things that I'm doing.
Okay. Fine.
Right. Anything else, madam, that you wanted to
Thank
ask?
you.
Okay.
No, that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, Bhavya. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know, Vijay, you missed some of the part 3. Yeah, I am going to take the part 3 again on Sunday, because today was a very short notice. So I will be definitely giving people some more time. I'll be updating the time today itself in the WhatsApp group. And just I said this to the previous talk, please send me a message on WhatsApp group I will take that into consideration. Right now, you see, I don't have too much of work.
Sir,
Most
can
of
we
us,
have access to the templates of which you follow in your clinic, sir?
well, they are copyrighted, and
Okay.
Karan, they are basically, ours is a private limited company with shareholders. So I'm
Okay.
sorry, I will not be able to share the templates with you, but I can share individualized templates. Like I can share with you, I can guide you how to create templates. That I can do for you,
Okay.
right? So
Thank
for
you, sir. Thank
example, let's say one template I can share with you. What I will do is that I will modify it so that it becomes a generalized template, and I'll put it in the group. So that what
Sir.
happens?
Okay, sir.
Let's
That
say,
will
for
be nice, sir.
example,
So that we will get an idea how to do
yes,
it.
of course, yeah, I do
It
agree
will
with
be
you.
very informative, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. Dr. Shweta, I will unfortunately not be able to add you in the group unless and until you send me a message from this 8971803555. Okay? Because it's very difficult to keep a track of the
Sir,
audio
I
chats.
asked you a question, sir. Hello,
Yeah.
sir. Can you listen to me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. I can listen as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sir. Like I'm practicing holiness only. Yes, sir. I'm practicing holiness only. Thank you, sir. I'm practicing holiness only implants. Like I have got a couple of endodontists.
Oh, okay. Please tell me. Yeah, you have a couple of
Then
endodontists. Yeah.
they very bluntly tells me. Then they very bluntly. Yeah. Then they very bluntly tell me, you don't do your work in other clinics. So the one doctor who does everything, and why are you having different doctors for different specialities? So sometimes it becomes maybe a little. How do we handle such situations, please, in certain sections of these patients, please?
Okay. Okay. Akhil, I will definitely take that. I have got a question here, but first I will answer you, Karan. You see, this is where you have to win the confidence of the people. And that is why, yes, Dr. Shweta, I received your message. Uh, okay, I am receiving messages from all of you. It is popping up. So at the end of the webinar. So Karan, what you need to do is that you need to win the confidence by telling them that you see that this particular area is not my specialization. All right. And you have to tell your patients clearly that dentistry is now practiced by specialists. In fact, there are patients now who, once you start communicating to them in this manner, that a specialized job is done by a specialist, and I concentrate more on things. And you can tell them and give them example that this person is treating my own friends and my own family. Okay, that I told you last time also, that this is a common thing. Sir, aap nahi karne wale ho. Now, that is why Dr. Karan Rajpal has to take a back seat and your clinic has to take a front seat if you want to generate revenue out of more patients. Because you see, I, for example, Karan, very honestly will tell you that even if I want to do a root canal treatment, I cannot do because I've never done a root canal treatment in my whole life. And I tell that to my patients. So look, I am a specialist. I am an orthodontist. Now I have also ventured into single sitting restorative procedures, and I am trained by specialists for that. But for the work that I am not trained, how can I perform? I have a well-trained person. He has been analyzed properly. We have gone through a complete procedure of employing him. This is his success rate. Make him talk to one of your patients, right? Who is happy? Share, ask that patient whether he or she is willing to talk or not. That will increase the confidence level of that person. Are you getting me? And slowly, when you are
Yeah.
starting, and let there be a process. So this is one of the thread that you are seeing, right? So write it down, Karan, that how are you going to address it? Make it as a part of your protocol book so that every staff member is aware. So anytime this question is posed कि डॉक्टर करण नहीं कर रहे तो डॉक्टर करण ही वो जवाब का आंसर देंगे तो डॉक्टर करण इम्प्लांट कब डालेंगे so your staff also now know what to answer to that patient when they say कि endodontic treatment is going to be done by somebody else. Your staff knows कि डॉक्टर करण यही आंसर देने वाले हैं तो मैं दे देता हूँ. Many a times I have experienced this when I go to a particular organization and when I am not happy, when I say कि आपने तो मुझे बता दिया but I want to talk to your superior, they tell me with a very cool, polite manner, sir, he is going to tell you the same thing. I know that. Are you understanding, Karan, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So once this becomes, and I understand you have multiple clinics, right? It's not just one clinic.
Yes, sir.
So, you can't be everywhere. So let this there be a common answer, a template. कि अगर कोई पूछे कि डॉक्टर करण रूट कैनाल क्यों नहीं कर रहे, तो ये आंसर देना है. Then the template, you are also, it
Fine,
automatically
sir.
comes out of
Thank
your
you,
mind.
sir.
Okay. So any more questions? Dr. Akhil, yes, we must plan how to make a run clinic like a company. Yes, the registration process and the advantages. There are huge advantages, but there are disadvantages as well. So if you want, I can explain to you in a separate webinar. If you want to form a company, it's very simple. Just tell your chartered accountant there has to be some shareholding. There has to be a minimum equity which you have to invest in, and then you have to issue some shares. Your company gets registered with the registrar of companies. Okay. But the only disadvantage is that now you have to have everything in a proper procedure. Oh, you can't
Yes,
run a
sir.
company without this set procedures. You will have an audit, you will have standardizations, and okay, tray setup webinar, perfect. Next thing I'm going to work on is a tray setup webinar, Karan. Thank you very much. I'm going to work on it.
Because sir, the only reason I wanted to make a company because there is no method of taking input for the GST in my clinic because we pay a lot of GST. And I talked to my CA, I said, how can I get this GST back? So he said we have to make a company, but there are two ways. It's a single and proprietorship combined. And the third is whole the same way as you are saying.
Ask him if you can do an LLP, limited liability partnership.
Okay, sir.
Right? Ask him if that can help your GST. Or what I will do is I'll get back to you because in my BNI chapter there is a chartered accountant who specializes on GST. So are you paying GST on dental procedures or you are running a lab?
No, sir, I am not running a lab, not selling anything. But see, whatever we are purchasing, we are and like
Oh, that way you
the
are paying GST. So you want to, okay, I understand. So you are not getting that, what they call is that, negation of your GST.
yes, yes, on the maintenance part and the electricity on the building.
Correct.
In lot many ways. When I calculated, it was almost 5 to 6 lakhs in a year.
Yes.
So that's a huge amount.
Yes, Akhil, I understand. We can take advantage of that. So you
Yes,
can
sir.
start a private limited company, but private limited company will incur a lot of other expenditure. You must understand it, Akhil.
Yes, because he
So
said
वो
then you have to
cost
go for
benefit
accounting every month. Yeah.
कॉस्ट बेनिफिट रेशियो देख लेना. 5-6 लाख अगर बचाने के लिए आपको 10 लाख खर्चना पड़े तो इट इज नॉट वर्थ इट.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't spend dollars to earn pennies.
He always discourages me to make a company, sir.
I would also discourage you unless and until you have a plan to sell tomorrow your company, your practice to somebody. I have done this because we want equity partners.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you are looking at investment and if you're looking at people who want to invest in you, if you are trying to borrow money, now that is what is very important concept, which is known as non-returnable money. If
Yes,
that is
sir.
your target कि भाई पैसा वापस, ये बैंक को क्या है सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, ये बैंक को पैसा वापस देना पड़ता है.
12-13%. That's huge, sir.
हाँ, no, negotiate with them. You can get it for 9%. Why are you paying 12-13%? Please get somebody for debt syndication. I can get somebody work on you and get you a loan for approximately 9.1%.
That's better, sir. But by God's grace, by now I have finished all my loans.
So
That's
that is
a,
good.
really blessing. But thank you. But in future, I if I go for something big, then
Definitely. आप लोन मत लेना. आप try to get investors. So private limited company तभी बनाना जब आप investors चाहते हो. If you're planning to sell your shares to people, okay?
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for all of you for coming up at such a short notice. I'm really sorry for that. I'm going to do this webinar again. So kindly please publicize it so that we get more attendance on Sunday when we do this repeat of the webinar. Thank you very much, all of you. Have a great weekend ahead and stay home, stay safe, but stay connected. Thank you. Have a nice day, all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye. If there are no more questions, I'm going to end the meeting. Okay. Thank you very much, all of you.